They don't just dislike you. They don't just misunderstand you. They fear you, not because of what you have, but because of what you carry. There is a frequency inside you that disrupts the agenda of darkness. There is a fire in your spirit that no spell, no lie, no shadow can put out. And the moment you came into this world, marked, set apart, chosen, the dark realm knew they had a problem. Because you're not just another soul passing through. You are a key. You are a mirror. You are a threat. And once you awaken to who you really are, there's no turning back. Because the truth is this: the dark fears your light before you even know how to use it. Before you find your voice. Before you realize your authority. Before you even understand your mission. They already feel the tremor of your presence shaking the unseen. And that's why the attacks came early. That's why the confusion started young. That's why betrayal followed you like a shadow. Because the dark realm wanted to break you before you became you. You see, when a chosen one is born, a signal is sent out across dimensions. Not everyone hears it, but the ones who do, both light and dark, they move. Because chosen ones don't just carry healing, they are healing. They don't just speak truth, they embody it. And every realm that feeds on deception, distortion, and delay instantly starts scheming to block what you're here to ignite. This is why your life didn't look like anyone else's, because your path was never meant to be normal. It was meant to be sacred. And sacred paths are always protected with pain, not to stop you, but to sharpen you. You weren't sent here to blend in. You were sent to disrupt. So of course, darkness noticed you, long before you ever noticed it. And it studied you, not with fear at first, but with strategy. How do we keep this one asleep? How do we flood this one's mind with doubt, distractions, dysfunction, so they never remember? Because the moment you remember, the moment you reclaim your light, the moment you say yes to your divine frequency, the whole game shifts. You are a living portal. And once opened, you allow light to flow in places that haven't seen clarity in generations. You are ancestral redemption, bloodline correction, dimensional liberation. You are the one your lineage whispered about when they said, "One day." So yes, the darkness fears your light. Because you are not here to just shine. You're here to awaken. And once a chosen one awakens, there is no realm, seen or unseen, that remains untouched. Let's go deeper. They fear your light because your light reveals. It uncovers. It exposes every illusion, every fake alliance, every system built on energetic slavery. You can walk into a room and people get uncomfortable, and you haven't said a word. Because your energy exposes their masks. Your presence alone makes the false crumble. That's not arrogance. That's frequency. And that frequency came at a price. You've walked through fires that should have burned you. You've endured betrayals that could have broken you. You've been misunderstood, underestimated, misjudged, and you're still here. That's why they fear you. Because you're not just light. You're light with scars. You carry wisdom. You carry resilience. You carry authority. And no darkness, no demon, no delay can copy that. The dark realm has always tried to counterfeit the light. It can mimic the look. It can mimic the language. But it cannot replicate the frequency of a soul that's been refined in fire. That's you. You're not speaking light. You are light. And that light makes the hidden things shake. It makes people confess around you. It makes fake energy fall off. It makes everything that's not aligned with God panic. Because when a chosen one fully steps into alignment, that light activates timelines. It collapses illusions. It awakens souls who were sleeping in plain sight. And that's why you were targeted. Not because you're weak, but because you're powerful. Let's be honest. Most of what you called attacks were actually confirmations. Proof that the realm of darkness recognized your purpose before you even began walking in it. They didn't come for you because you were broken. They came because they saw you were becoming whole. You carry a divine pattern in your soul that disrupts every false blueprint this world runs on. Your thoughts, your choices, your presence, they bend energy fields. You're a walking contradiction to the systems of control. You are freedom in human form. And the dark, it thrives on control, suppression, distortion. So of course it fears you, because your rise is its collapse. And here's the real secret. It's not just about you. It's about what your awakening triggers in others. Your frequency is contagious. You being real gives others permission to drop the mask. You standing in truth shatters years of deception in those around you. You owning your light activates dormant chosen ones in your presence. You're a chain reaction, a walking awakening. And that's what the dark fears most, the ripple effect of your light. Because one chosen one is dangerous, but a network of awakened souls, that's a revolution. And that's why they try to isolate you, to make you feel like the only one, to drown you in loneliness, to lie and say, no one gets you. Because if they could keep you alone, they could stop the linking. But not anymore. You're starting to feel it, aren't you? The ones like you are being drawn together. Across timelines, across continents, through dreams, through synchronicities, through signs that refuse to be ignored. This isn't just awakening. This is alignment. And once chosen ones align, there's no force in hell that can stop the wave. You've been playing small in a war zone you were born to command. And the moment you stop hiding, the realm shifts. Because your light doesn't just illuminate. It restructures. It reorders the grid. It brings divine law into systems that have operated in distortion for lifetimes. You were never just meant to inspire. You were meant to interrupt the false, to dismantle strongholds, to flip tables in temples that forgot their purpose, to remind this world, God still sends lightning in human form. And that's you. The dark knows this. And that's why it's never attacked you randomly. It's always been strategic, calculated, surgical, because you carry a spiritual technology that rewrites blueprints. You think you're just moving through life, healing, waking up, trying to find your place. But what you're really doing is bending timelines with your choices. Every no you say to darkness recalibrates the field. Every time you speak truth, the shadows get smaller. Every time you forgive instead of retaliate, you rupture a generational curse. This is why demons recognize you before you even open your mouth. They're not looking at your personality. They're not impressed with your looks. They feel your coding. They see your vibration. They see the mark of divine selection on your aura. They see what's behind you, the ancient power you were born to remember. You carry rank in the unseen. Even when you forget, they don't. You've probably walked into rooms and felt the tension rise. Not because you said anything, but because your spirit declared war without a single word. Because when a chosen one walks in alignment, demons get nervous. Low vibrational spirits panic. False narratives collapse. And all the energy built on manipulation starts trembling. Because light doesn't argue with darkness. It simply arrives, and everything changes. This is why you've had to walk alone. Why certain people couldn't stay. Why environments that once felt safe started feeling suffocating. You outgrew them because your frequency rose. And what once tolerated you, now can't even contain you. You don't belong in small spaces anymore. You don't belong in shallow conversations. You don't belong in cycles of self-abandonment. Because you're carrying a message, not just through words, but through being. You walk with divine fire. You carry evidence that the light always wins, because you are still standing. You are living proof that the pit couldn't keep you. That betrayal didn't break you. That silence didn't shut you down. That loss didn't empty you. It refined you. And now, the battlefield is shifting. Not because something outside you changed, but because you did. You're starting to remember. You're starting to walk like it. You're starting to carry yourself like someone who knows. This war was never about survival. It's about dominion. You weren't sent here to hide in the corner. You were sent here to take territory, to reclaim what was stolen, to speak what others were too afraid to say, to shine where others were taught to shrink. So what happens when you stop hiding your divine code? Everything. Because the darkness was never afraid of your failure. It was terrified of your clarity, your remembrance, your voice, your standards, your vision. Because once you know who you are, once you really know, the dark can no longer negotiate with your fear. It can't tempt you with half versions of yourself. It can't bind you with outdated stories. It can't use guilt to anchor you to dead relationships. It loses access. You shift from target to commander. The battlefield doesn't disappear, but your posture changes. You stop begging for peace and start enforcing it. You stop praying for power you already carry and start releasing it. Because chosen ones aren't made to play defense forever. There comes a moment where you go from wounded warrior to divine weapon. And when that shift happens, everything that once attacked you starts getting nervous. Because now, you see it coming. You sense energy before it manifests. You discern spirits behind smiling faces. You hear God in whispers most people ignore. And when that clarity sharpens, you no longer fear the battle. You become the battle line. That's why the darkness had to try so hard to keep you blind, to keep you doubting your own intuition, to keep you second-guessing your call, to convince you you're too much, too sensitive, too intense. But those were never flaws. They were features, sacred tools embedded in your soul for spiritual warfare. You weren't born for comfort. You were born for kingdom disruption. And that's exactly what your light does. Every time you choose love over fear, you disrupt a curse. Every time you speak when silence is expected, you crack the illusion. Every time you walk in integrity, you expose corruption in the energetic field. That's why your light is dangerous. Not because it glows, but because it pierces. You don't just bring light, you bring judgment. Spiritual judgment, soul-level alignment, consequences in the unseen. And the darkness knows this. That's why it sends distractions. That's why it keeps you busy, overthinking, chasing fake validation. Because if you ever sat still long enough to feel your full power, you'd level cities in the spirit. You'd speak and chains would break. You'd declare and realms would shift. You'd move, and entire bloodlines would start healing in your wake. And this is where you are now. The veil is thinning. Your gifts are sharpening. Your clarity is becoming too strong to ignore. You're not who you were last year. You're not even who you were last week. Because alignment accelerates awakening, and awakening activates assignment. You're not just here to shine in private. You're here to take spiritual territory in public. You are a lighthouse and a warrior. You are divine beauty wrapped in divine fury. And when you own both, when you stop choosing one and suppressing the other, the realm responds. Because heaven backs the ones who walk in purpose. And when heaven backs you, no darkness can bury you. You weren't sent here to ask for permission. You were sent to shift atmospheres, to walk into spaces and make spirits uncomfortable, to carry a frequency so pure, so ancient, so undeniable, that even the realm has no choice but to bow. And this is what's happening now. Whether you see it or not, whether you feel ready or not, the realm is responding to your presence because you finally stopped hiding. You stopped apologizing for your discernment. You stopped watering down your wisdom. You stopped shrinking around people who couldn't hold your vibration. And now, the realm recognizes your authority. Not because you shout, not because you prove, but because your existence speaks what your words never could. There is a weight to your spirit, a divine resonance, a sound only the soul can hear. And those who are aligned with the light, they feel safe in your energy. They're drawn to you. They remember parts of themselves in your presence. But those tethered to deception, they squirm, they project, they sabotage. Because your frequency is a mirror, and mirrors are dangerous in a world built on illusion. Your light doesn't just reveal beauty, it exposes bondage. It forces decisions. It demands transformation. It shakes comfort zones that have calcified into cages. This is why your very existence has become a spiritual weapon. Not a weapon of destruction, but of awakening. You walk into a space, and everything dormant starts to stir. Old patterns tremble, false attachments loosen, and timelines begin to rearrange themselves around your presence. That's how powerful your frequency is. You're not chasing alignment anymore. Alignment is chasing you. Why? Because you're in your God-ordained position now. Not externally, but energetically. You've reclaimed your authority. You've said yes to the divine assignment written in your bones. And when a chosen one says yes, the whole universe moves. Doors open that logic can't explain. Opportunities appear that make no earthly sense. Protection surrounds you in impossible ways. And favor flows like a current because you finally match the vibration of your calling. You're no longer begging to be seen. You are seen in the spirit realm, in the soul realm, in the divine order. You're no longer hustling for validation because you know who sent you. And when you walk like that, when you talk like that, when you radiate like that, you trigger everything that isn't healed, whole, or holy. That's why people will love you deeply or resent you irrationally. There is rarely an in-between, because your energy doesn't allow lukewarm. You are a walking yes or no, a divine line in the sand. And that kind of presence, that's revolutionary. Not because you're trying to change the world, but because you are the change. You are the living frequency of heaven's disruption. You are the sound of the system collapsing. You are the breath of what comes next. And make no mistake, your rise is not personal. It's prophetic. You rising is ancestral. It's cosmic. It's collective. Because every soul that was silenced before you is rising through you. Every prayer your grandmother whispered in her pain is being answered through you. Every soul who settled for safety is watching you break open destiny. You are the one that changes the family pattern. You are the one that makes spiritual warfare regret choosing your bloodline. You are the one that shows the dark. You should have taken me out when I didn't know who I was. Because now, I'm awake. And I'm not just surviving, I'm reigning. And here's what that looks like. You stop waiting for signs and become one. You stop begging for the door and build one. You stop asking for confirmation and walk in conviction. Because you're not a follower anymore. You're a forerunner. You're not walking a path, you're clearing one. And when the realm sees that kind of alignment, it bows. Not to your ego, but to your essence. To the divine code you carry. To the fire you didn't let burn out. To the purity you protected through hell and heartbreak. Because that kind of frequency cannot be faked. It can't be bought. It can't be studied. It can only be forged through obedience, pain, process, and power. And now, the divine revolution begins. Not with violence, but with vibration. Not with noise, but with clarity. Not with followers, but with frequency holders. And that's you. You are the beginning of a wave this world isn't ready for. A movement without a name. A tribe without a title. A kingdom that doesn't need approval to exist. You don't need a platform to have impact. You are the portal. And everywhere you go, heaven leaks out of you. You are the new sound, the new wine, the new blueprint. And your life, just by existing in full light, is dismantling centuries of deception. You are not too much. You are exactly enough for the mission. You were made to walk through fire. To carry thrones in your bones, to speak words that rewrite DNA, to breathe and cause chains to fall in people who've never met you before. Because that's the power of the chosen. You don't need to convince. You just need to be. And when you are fully, unapologetically you, the dark can't stand it. Because what it feared all along is here. You, awake, aligned, and unstoppable. Let them feel your light. Let them fear your rise. Let them witness the glory you carry. Because this isn't just your comeback. It's God's confirmation through your life. The divine revolution has begun. And you are the frequency. No fluff, just kingdom fire.